Grog. Hey everyone, it's the Cider Shed podcast, a weekly podcast about the Archers. It's Peter Fickling here. I'm with Keri Warbis and Matthew Weir. So Matthew is, I think, like a cross between Berry Gordy and Dennis the Menace in his sort of fort come recording studio. And Keri has been doing kind of Stanislavski method drinking this week to sort of make sure she's fully in tune with Alice and the kind of like the ongoing alcoholism. So how's that been for you, Keri?
Yeah, I did have a bit of a large one yesterday. I'd booked it ages ago to go out for dinner with my best friend, Keri. Uh, she does exist.
Hang on.
It's not a glove puppet or anything, I promise you. And we went to the Salt Room, which is a beautiful seafood restaurant on the seafront. And after that, we went for cocktails at the Grand Hotel. So
Very nice.
It was a bit of a splurge.
You went all influencer on Instagram. I couldn't keep up.
I did, didn't I?
I presume you paid for nothing.
Yeah, there were 2 posts, Matthew.
Finally cashing in on her enormous social media clout.
Mm.
Don't you think Matthew is sounding absolutely glorious in his new recording zone?
He is. The duvet fort is working well.
Yeah, I've built a fort. I'm surrounded by soft blankets, pillows. I'm out of the pantry. Finally come out of the pantry. I haven't told my parents yet, so if Mum and Dad, if you're listening. But it's bloody hot here, guys. So I've had to bravely send you a photo in the WhatsApp group that I'm down to a pair of shorts.
Matthew and I are the same age, and I wish I looked like that with my clothes off. I mean, he's a beautiful, beautiful human being.
I don't know about that.
Who's going to do the beautiful, beautiful human being segue then into one of the Archer's characters?
Who is there?
Well, I'm going to say Neil and Jim are in direct competition at the moment. They, this week they have shone radiantly.
Yeah, Jim is a walking moral compass.
Yes.
Isn't he? Yeah. What a wonderful man. He tries his absolute hardest to see everything compassionately, and his vision of things is so much more broad than, for example, Emma. You know, he literally knows it's a disease. It's not really Alice in her entirety. She has got a disease, which is alcoholism, and he knows that you need to think about that, even in the worst scenarios.
Yeah, and obviously he doesn't have the emotional investment of some of the other people involved. It's a lot easier for him to stand there in the shop and see the bigger picture than it is for Susan. But at the same time, that clear-sightedness, that ability to take a step back and really think through the morality, not just the kind of like the easy gut instinct, is hugely admirable. And Neil as well, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. Definitely. Jim was sort of tiptoeing around things a bit, wasn't he, in the shop, when he said, I'm always inclined to say rather more than is required of me. Whereas Neil, he went not straight for the jugular, but he didn't mess around with Emma in particular. And I loved to hear him do that.
And he's had a real steal this week. I think on Thursday's episode, when he was relaying the good news to Alice and Jenny, it was like, look, let's not overstep the mark. It's good news that that Susan has given you the verdict that you want, but that doesn't mean that we're out of the woods. That was very much the kind of the inference.
Yeah. Did you know that the actor who plays Neil, Brian Hewlett, is 82 years old?
Whoa, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
I tell you what, send him Emmys, send him Oscars after this week. I thought after his performance all the way through it. I mean, I kind of felt like he had Brian on strings a few times, didn't you? But he just held back a couple of times because Brian was existing in this. He still is in this bubble, isn't he, Brian? Where this can't be happening, or it is happening, but it can't be as bad as everyone is saying it is. And Neil is there going, well, Brian, I think you'll find. And then there was that kind of passive-aggressive thing about, the pig feed costings or something like that, wasn't there? And in the end, Neil was even in the end said, well, if you want to go to Hannah, go to Hannah, I've got to go and look after your granddaughter. And, there was this moment, I think, in tonight's episode, I mean, still it's quite fresh. There was this moment when he just kind of said, well, I'll pay for the window and, maybe we can get beyond this. And he said, I think it's going to be more than broken windows.
Yeah.
Brian, he's kind of grounding Brian a bit. I felt like it took about 4 episodes, or like over the course of how many episodes they were in, to kind of bring him into realizing, I think this is a real problem. And plus how emotional he got on Monday, like that kind of, that upset me a bit when someone's voice starts to wobble that much. You start to worry about them a bit, and I've been a bit worried about him.
Yeah, imagine if your football team lost both, the women's and the men's team both tanked in different cups on the same weekend. I can imagine that would be the kind of levels of emotion we were talking about, Matthew.
Yeah, and then imagine that your team is in the final and playing in the European Champions League final, playing in a stadium.
No, I can't imagine that.
Playing 10 minutes from your house and you can't get a fucking ticket.
Imagine if your team beats Man City.
Who are these people we're talking about?
I was just quite enjoying the idea of Neil going up on the stage at in Hollywood next year to collect his Oscar.
His chat with Alice on the doorstep tonight. Where's that? We all just he said we all want that girl back. That was very moving, I thought.
Oh yeah. Where's that lovely girl gone?
Oh, that's a tough message for Alice to hear as well. I mean, it's coming from a good place, what Neil's saying, but it's also, it really gets to the point, doesn't it? It really shines a very harsh light on Alice.
And that was all because Jenny buggered off to answer the phone, wasn't it? Which was social services. And, there was still that incredulity from Jennifer, even though she's embraced it. There was that point where Neil was like, I've come round, and, Alice said, well, I didn't know if Susan wants to see me. And Jennifer's like, well, why wouldn't she want to see you, darling? You only threw a brick through the window of a shop. Well, that might be it.
And it's funny, Brian and Jennifer throwing cash around as they were. I mean, Brian's was almost in a kind of bribery sense, wasn't it? It was like, here's some money. Are you going to be pressing charges?
Yeah.
Very transactional.
That was the moment where Neil did that. And then, he knows exactly what they're doing. And we were saying last week they're going to throw money at it. And Jennifer's already said, if only we could have paid for a proper facility.
Yeah.
The assumption that one that they hadn't sanctioned must be sort of subpar, or one that was done on the fly. The thing about Brian is he's a big swinging dick in the world, right? He runs organisations. He's in charge of multi-million-pound farms. He's a landowner. Like this, if you are superficial, there's a lot of kind of shiny baubles to get kind of distracted by. But he knows that within the little kind of the small micro, within the world of Ambridge, Neil is unimpeachable. Even though he's Neil's boss, but standing toe to toe with Neil, talking about something that is domestic, talking about something to do with the village, he knows who the junior partner is, and there's even Brian can't kid himself.
Yeah. Do you think Brian and Jennifer have Googled alcoholism? Have they even got that far?
Can they even pronounce it? Brian, how do I spell it? Yes,
it was like when she said social services. How she pronounced it. It just didn't sound like social services.
Well, she said it like a dirty word, didn't she?
Social services. Yeah, I can't do it.
I hope. I've made my disquiet with how long this is going on. Very public, and I've said it thousands and thousands of times. Everyone's probably as bored of me saying that as they are of the actual thing. If they agree with me, but maybe it's an opportunity for us to learn a little bit more about that, because I'm actually more interested now in the social services side of things, like learning about. Learning through Jennifer and Brian exactly what goes on, and how it's not. It's not just for poor people on council estates. That's me channeling their snobbery, by the way. That's not my snobbery. Yeah. It's there to correct you and to look after you, no matter who you are. Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. And so the police will have alerted social services. Yes.
I was told that the doctor would have definitely 100%. Told social services when Alice confided in him about her drinking through the pregnancy.
Okay, because there seemed to be nothing after. That was the whole thing, wasn't it? Like a ball was completely dropped there. And I felt the insinuation was that social services have only now intervened, because we never found out who phone the police, did we?
No, there's a lot of speculation about that on the Twitters. Who are your bets for that? Do you think
That would have been Jim and Susan, wouldn't it? If you're running a post office and a brick gets thrown through the window, that's you have to call the police.
someone was saying, but who called the police, weren't they? Was it Jennifer?
Yeah, and Brian was saying, probably, jumping the gun a bit, calling the police when someone lobs a brick through your window.
And I didn't even know the shop sold bricks.
I mean, I'm not sure if I'd ever lobbed a brick through a window and my parents had been waiting for me outside. If I came out of the cop shop, I would be greeted as a sweetheart. I think that would be a bit of a push.
Well, fine, Susan. Seeing as you won't sell me that vodka, I'll buy a trebuchet, 3 breeze blocks, and some burning tar.
Can we talk about the different stages of Alice and the different voices of Alice?
It's very weird.
Yeah, they're good, aren't they? I mean, she's cracking, I think, the actress. She, when she went into the shop and spoke to Jim.
Playful Alice.
Yeah, that's why I came in.
I like all the different versions of Alice. I just don't feel we should have so many.
Do you know what she reminds me of? And then tonight's episode, I was thinking this yesterday, and then Jim mentioned it to Jazza earlier. One of not the seminal movie itself in particular, but these movies where like they have to perform an exorcism on somebody, and they go through all the ranges of all these voices and emotions: nice, sweet, kind, angry, scared, all of that. And I know that's probably something that they're trying to do with this illness that she has. Yeah, but she came into the shop. Yeah, I came in. I know Susan isn't here. I watched her drive away, and then there was this directness with Jim, wasn't it? Take my card, give me the bottle, and then there was the bribery. The emotional blackmail. Then I'll drive. And then when Susan came in, you shouldn't let her talk to you like that.
Yeah, that was my favourite bit.
That was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
trying to play one off against the other.
Yeah, now you know what it's like. I'm surprised Neil doesn't come in here regularly to asking for vodka.
Yeah, and I was at that point. I expected Max von Sydow to come in with a crucifix and start showering her with holy water.
But that's because that was pissed Alice, wasn't it? She's had some, but not enough, I thought.
And when she turned nasty on Chris on Monday or Tuesday, do you think she was pissed Alice then?
Yeah, because he did say, you've been drinking, haven't you? Because she was...
I didn't think she had.
I mean, there's that thing now where she could always be accused of drinking and she might not have.
Yeah, I thought it was Boy You Cried Wolf when Chris accused her. And that whole scene was... It was like, who was fucking it up more? Like, Chris was making a mess of it. Alice was making a mess of it. And obviously, they're both in a difficult situation. One of them's ill. The other one's stressed out of his mind with dealing with that illness. But it was just, they were trying to fill the bingo card of ways of doing it wrong quite quickly.
Yeah, because Alice was accusing Chris of enabling her, as Jennifer described it later, didn't she? But, when she said, it's just my bad luck that I'm addicted to it. You were partying with me in the past, but I'm the one who's getting it in the neck right now. And when she said about that you've finally got her and now you don't need me, because obviously she wasn't that keen on having the baby anyway. That was an interesting thing, but there could be a bit of truth in that.
It's kind of a mute point, isn't it? To some extent. I don't mean your point. I mean, whether she wanted the baby or not. The baby is there, and Alice is saying very clearly that she wants it. So beyond the...
It's a weapon, isn't it, of hers
that
she can use when she so wishes.
Don't you think it's also a weapon that Chris is using? And I don't mean he's using it in a bad... It's not reprehensible, but he is using Martha's safety, which is completely honourable, against Alice as well, against every little thing. When it was that point where she said, can I play with her for a minute without you watching me? And he said, I'm not watching you, I'm watching her. But he's obviously watching at Alice, isn't he?
Yes, but this kid's how old now? A month and a half? I mean, it's not like, it's a different thing when it's a toddler. I just, I felt a bit, I felt he was exploiting the situation a little bit to score some cheap points. I don't have a side at all. I feel very, very sorry for Alice, and I feel I should imagine equally sorry for Chris, although it obviously changes, with the way the wind's blowing. But during that whole scene, I just felt very sad and very sort of bitter for them both that they're having to go through it.
Yeah, because when Chris was saying, he was being a bit awful, wasn't he, about the fact that his mum had seen the first smile happen of Martha, the first proper smile.
Yeah.
He was a bit dickish about that, wasn't he? Sort of like really rubbing her face in it. I mean, if you've just been through that and just enjoyed that moment so hugely, as any parent would, you must instinctively understand the amount of hurt and bitterness on the other side, which he definitely was doing it on purpose.
I know.
Wasn't he?
I thought it was a little bit alarming as well when Chris said, Emma says if you open your mouth, she coppers you. It's like, what is it? Martha's going to go around to Brian's door, bang on the door, and unload on him or something. But there was that, Alice. I felt for her that moment. She went, "Oh yeah, I've noticed that," and then Chris was like, "Oh, have you?
Yeah, have you? You've hardly seen her." Yeah.
But there was that interchange after that between Chris and Alice, where he didn't he say like you'll always be her mother or something, or she'll always need you, and then she asked, well, what about you? So there is something there.
It slips sometimes, doesn't it? He called her babe as well, or something. Some sort of affectionate. Where you sort of think, oh right, they're back as a couple again momentarily.
So, sorry to get a bit meta, but I just had this feeling like we've been talking about this for quite a long time now, and none of us have cracked any jokes or said anything silly. And when the three of us are talking on the pod, privately, individually, there's never it's 10 seconds maximum between jokes or an attempt to make each other laugh or just say something a bit silly. This is why I'm being dragged down by the way this is going on. It's not why I listen to the Archers. It's not. I don't want to talk about this all the time. I'm so sick of it.
I'm insulted. I made a really good joke about the shop selling bricks, and now
I laughed.
You've ruined it, Peter.
That was quite a long time ago.
I know what you mean,
Keri. The diamonds in the pile of poop are immaculate and shining, of course. But I'm just saying that there are fewer of them.
Many weeks ago, like I asked the question about who knows. I'm still not sure who knows. I'm really not sure at this point who is completely aware of the situation and who wasn't. You had this conversation between Peggy and Jennifer that ran through Tuesday's episode. By the way, I've either got a couple of people to listen to the Archers off the back of our podcast, or I've got people who stopped listening to go back to listening to it. But I did get a message from someone on Tuesday saying, who the hell is this creepy voice on the end of the phone? For them, I know we talked about The Exorcist, but they thought it sounded like Danny from The Shining going red rum. Peggy's voice coming down the phone, which if you never heard it, I guess it would be a bit alarming.
Yeah, because there was that bit with that phone call. There were two phone calls, weren't there? But anyway, where Peggy sort of said about Alice having gone to rehab, and Jennifer sort of went, I don't remember actually telling you about that.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes, she's going to say it. And then Jennifer bloody didn't listen, did she?
I know. But Jennifer also said to her, I felt like she needed Tony there to back her up. Do you know, what do you mean you're worried about leaving Alice alone with the baby? Do you know how cold you're saying? And I was like, it's Peggy.
Yes.
It's Peggy, we never wanted you, you little trainee bastard.
My mum's staying with us at the moment, and I did have a long chat with her about the Archers. It was when we were going for a walk in the park today. I was tempted to try and get her on as a special guest, but I didn't know what you two would think about it. But she was. We were talking about how weird it was that Peggy wouldn't tell Jennifer. How very, very strange it was, and we were sort of talking about my sister, my mum's daughter. And just the idea that she would be collaborating with and going behind my sister's back to be involved in the health and mental health of one of my nephews, absolutely bizarre. Yeah. Sorry, I know it's sort of trite to personalize it like that, but it's only when you think about it in those terms you realize how odd some of these decisions are.
Yeah, no, it's not trite. You should do that. It's like the christening when we said, if that was your family, would you all have a right big Barney outside, or would you sort of try to make the best of it and go in and then deal with the situation later, because loads of people are waiting in the church and all of that. Obviously, it wouldn't be the drama that it is if we weren't gagging to hear Peggy reveal this to Jennifer.
No, I won't go inside, Keri. I'm trying to do a slow, brawling exposition to people who haven't listened in a couple of weeks. I've got to explain a lot of back plot.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Fallon starts herding everyone out whilst giving them a pulled pork sandwich as they go.
Yeah.
Your obsession with Fallon's pulled pork is getting out of control, Matthew. We need to scratch this itch. We need to have a kind of like a Zoom call pulled porkathon. Get it all just sorted.
I'm in. Can we play Countdown at the same time?
Well, I mean, actually, just a second. We need to agree on a dress code because,
Well, I'll be topless, obviously.
So just how hot is it in Portugal?
Well, it's that overnight heat at the moment. It's really sunny during the day, clear during the day. We get kind of cloud coming in the evening. It's I was about to say it's very close, as my German grandmother would have said. It's the expression she used to use. It's hot. It's hot here in the evening. Like an overnight of about 18 doesn't sound very much, but that's a lot.
With the humidity.
Yeah. And those little bastard mosquitoes that come in the moment you open the shutters.
I mean, that's moving from California to the UK. I never suffered from the heat living in California, but in the UK it gets me every time because of the humidity. Like I've
never known well, I mean, I lived in Western Australia. I would take a 45-degree day in Western Australia over a 30-degree day in subtropical Brazil. Because subtropical Brazil, it's like someone has sprayed engine grease on your face the moment you leave the house. It's like nothing I've ever experienced.
There is a limit to the whole humidity thing, though, because I used to do an annual gig in Bahrain, and I remember once walking out of the hotel, and it's like someone just threw a bucket over me. I was just drenched in my own sweat, and then almost immediately 3 local kids ran past playing football. I think it was 50 in the shade. It was in wearing sweaters. They're playing football. I was just like, oh my god, how can you? Anyway.
And I had a couple of friends who who were going to India on one of these kind of like 3-month holidays, and they somehow managed to get into an argument on the plane, and they got off their Air India flight in India, and they got off the plane. They was like, it's too hot to argue. And they just stopped. There's just no way they could continue.
Oh, so this is the solution to all of our problems. Just fly all the bellends in Britain off to kind of like, Cambodia in March, and they'll all calm the hell down.
Unfortunately, all the bellends in Britain are coming to Portugal right now. Apologies to all bellends listening to this.
No. I'm 100% sure this is a bellend-free zone. Or if any listeners want to out themselves as bellends, then please write in. hello@thesideofshed.com. Yeah.
Will I be a bellend in October?
Good point, Keri.
No, absolutely not. It's just this idea that you had to completely race to go on holiday and pay way over the odds, to get these. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think the tests are more expensive than the flights, aren't they? From what I could see on the news, most of the people on the flights were journalists reporting about the flight.
Well, I don't want to sound. This is going to sound hypocritical, given what we've just spent 4 or 5 minutes talking about the weather. But for some people, their holiday's all they've got to talk about every year. So if they don't go on holiday, that's it. That's their year of, that's their kind of like stockpile of conversation used up.
Where else are they going to complain about waiters?
Speaking of complaining, fuck off, Shula, with your newspaper bill mix up.
Do you know what? We spoke after we stopped recording last week. Keri, we were talking about the fact that I mentioned that Shula hadn't been in it since we started the podcast. Jeez, did we fucking jinx that?
I know.
And
twice she pulled Susan up on she said, oh, those reminders. They were demands, actually.
Yeah, twice she had to tell her that.
Oh, God, she's such a
Why was she
twat.
such a tit? I presume her copies of Vicar's Wives, Which Pulpit, and the Sunday Sport hadn't shown up or something.
I know, she's such a catastrophizing drama queen loser, isn't she?
Do you know what? I think my kind of Shula cancelling headphones must have been on when I was listening to it, because I cannot remember any of the exchange. So
That was horrible.
you'll have to educate me. Was the thing that the thing that Susan had to stay late to sort out, she was referenced in the lovely conversation with Helen, that was all. The genesis of that was Shula kicking off because of Vicar Weekly wasn't available.
No,
not quite.
No, the computer, which is weird in itself, had sent out demands to all and sundry, even if they had paid their paper bills up to date. I mean, imagine, it's carnage, isn't it? You get a piece of paper.
Basically, the Ambridge, it turned into the UK Home Office, didn't they? They just sent a load of threatening letters to people that were completely, unwarranted. And even Tony got nervous. Tony was so upset he crashed the Earl of St. Germans.
But Shula was going, people are very upset. And she could see Susan was in a bit of a fluster about it. Just calm your jets, Shula. This doesn't matter.
I do feel like they're occasionally plucking characters and forcing them to kind of behave out of type to sort of offer a rather clumsy kind of contrast or to help get the plot going. I felt that way about Jazza on Thursday tonight, where it was like, I just didn't ring true that Jazza would be that unfeeling and that sort of hypocritical and sort of thoughtless, especially when he's been having this kind of like some level of personal relationship with Alice. But in order for Jim to, in order for Susan to feel that bad, we had to have Shula behaving like a dick. In order for Jim to be able to be sage, apparently we're not, sophisticated enough to be able to feel that way unless we have Jazza offering the exact contrast. It's like the BBC. I'm very pro BBC and a former employee of the BBC, but it's like if you listen to the Today programme, everything needs to have a contrary point of view. They can't just represent something as everything needs to be balanced.
Yeah, Jazza got so Scottish, didn't he, as well? The more cross he was getting.
And can I just say that is true. I mean, my great auntie was in her late 80s living in West Australia. And when she got pissed off, only people from certain parts of Glasgow could have understood her.
And as if Jim can't stand his own ground as well. He's more than capable of standing up for himself, isn't he? And I know it was out of loyalty, wasn't it? Jazza loves protecting Jim. He adores him. But it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, he had a full hazmat suit on, didn't he, tonight, just to kind of help Jim through his shock treatment.
That was very odd. All of the what was it? How are your legs feeling?
I like the bit where he said, are you responding to my voice? No, I'm trying not to.
That was quite funny. I got it in a strange kind of way. It took me a moment to realise that was written for comedy.
Oh, absolutely. I was, I am having more and more laugh out loud moments with the Archers recently, even amidst all the tragedy. Yeah, and I had a good chuckle with that part.
I feel very positive towards the Archers in general at the moment, and any complaints are coming from a kind of an affectionate place. There was a bunch of shite on Twitter this last week where people were getting stuck into Keri Davis about the number of episodes a week, and it's like, what the hell? Where the hell is this coming from? Just I mean, it's not a right to have the Archers come to us every week, but there's people who's they're putting in effort, and this is the best they can do. It's definitely, especially when it's been so good. I could understand if we were getting when was a real low period for the Archers?
The monologues?
Well, yeah, the monologues where David started referencing, he started to change the lyrics of Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits to Sultans of Silaging.
I liked the monologues. I enjoyed the monologues.
It was funny. Someone on Twitter said, "I actually quite like having a bit of a break on a Friday."
Yeah. I mean, I do miss the Sunday episodes.
Well, we're buggered. We'll have to start recording on a Friday night, won't we?
Oh, God knows. I mean, with your two schedules, and
we'll have to drag Keri out the nightclub.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be fine. Don't worry.
If I had a life, it would make and it was back to 6 days a week, then I think it would be almost impossible for us to record it, wouldn't it? Thank God I don't
think so. I think we'd just record on a Friday, wouldn't we?
And if Keri's arm wrestling a tramp in a back alley whilst over who has the last swig on a bottle of Lambrusco, then so be it.
Yeah, have the tramp as a special guest.
I do like the way that we tried to trap Keri in a conversation about her one woman bacchanal on early on in the week, and she sort of managed to rebrand it as a sort of a Instagrammable moment. What time did you get home, Keri?
11:30 was the taxi back from the Grand.
I think you replied to a WhatsApp from me at 3 a.m.
Oh, that was on Monday. Yeah.
Oh.
So be more specific is what Keri meant to say.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Which of my which of my booze ups are you talking about?
Yeah, no, Monday was the first day that you could go inside pub. So of course I had to go inside one. And it was a lovely, lovely local one who I feel for. I was doing my local duty. The Dover Castle, bless it. It should have opened earlier for its beer garden, and then the council came on the day that was supposed to happen, and they said no, you can't. Anyway, so had a lovely time in there Monday night, and yeah, that went on till 3 a.m. Sorry, forgot about that.
If there was, it's just a shame that I can't lend my enormous capacity to spend money in pubs to any of our local businesses at the moment. Otherwise, I'd absolutely love to prop up a failing pub at the moment.
I'm so out of the pub loop. I really am. I think it's just this. Well, obviously because of lockdown here and the cafes and stuff. But I think the last time I was really like pub goer was when I lived in Ireland, and obviously, it's illegal not to go to the pub in Ireland, so you go to the pub a lot.
I'm just imagining these speakeasies now, Matthew, where people gather to not drink, and the Garda are kicking the door down, so
forcing beer down their throats
before dragging them off to face
in
justice.
Ireland, you mean?
Yeah, well, you just said it's illegal not to go to the pub.
Well, it was when I lived there, but yeah, now it's sort of like pubs have been closed there for such a long time. I think it's like they were in real shock.
I was so pleased with Helen. So not that anyone needs my approval, but I was so pleased with Helen, the way that she dealt with Susan's situation. And this is now twice in this last month where I've enjoyed Helen's company. I thought she did the right thing, and it sort of reinforced this thought that comes to me sort of like every now and again, that Helen, a few of the other characters, maybe even Shula, in real life, they're exactly the kind of people you want around you. Helen would be such a good friend to have. But what is it about her that makes her so annoying? So that later on in the week, when she's talking to Kirsty about helping her friend out and trying to and trying to sort of guard all of her friends, the sensitivities around her friend's life, you just want to just smash the radio to pieces. I don't, it doesn't make any sense because sorry to repeat myself, she is such a good person.
That's it, isn't it?
I would not want her as a friend.
I mean, anyone that forces you to have a Great Eclair eating contest, nah, sorry.
Yeah, and they think that was a party.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, was that Kirsty's hen do?
It wasn't a hen do. It was a couple of weeks ago.
It was the last social event that they could remember. Even Kirsty Kirsty had to be reminded of it. One of them had forgotten about it.
It was one of their birthdays from a couple of weeks before.
Kirsty's, was it? Yeah.
I'm going to try really hard not to do my Kirsty impression.
Sean Dyche, come on.
Maybe later. I need to get some, prepare my vocal cords.
But you're right, Helen being like this, it was quite disconcerting, wasn't it? How she sort of said, I insist on driving you home and I'm giving you compassionate leave. And you focus on your family. That's the most important thing. It was great because Susan needs this. But it felt a bit, hearing Helen be so lovely.
Didn't you have a moment of liking Lee as well recently, Peter?
Yeah, I'm trying to, again, talking to my mother earlier on, and she, I said, I'm a complete pain in the arse, but, I do ultimately try and do the right thing. She paused an uncomfortably long time, but did then sort of reluctantly agree with me. But I sort of feel like I'm quite venomous about some of the characters. So every now and again, I try and sort of do a little sort of, reappraisal, and then agree I was probably right.
There was there was one line from Helen that stuck out like a sore thumb to me, which is where Kirsty was like saying, well, whenever you get yourself straight in the house, and Helen said, it'll be a while before we're anything like straight. And I was like, you're the two straightest people I know.
I know, when they were really laughing because Kirsty had a key in a dressing gown pocket. A
Yes.
dressing gown? Why? Why would there be a key in the dressing gown? It's not beyond all realms of possibility, is it? I don't know why you're getting hysterical about it.
No,
really.
I found keys in far stranger places than that.
Oh, Matthew's days recreating the Saw movies.
Never seen a Saw movie, by the way.
No, I'm never watching one.
I didn't watch it on pure principle because I had many colleagues who were from Slovakia who hated how much it ruined the tourist industry.
I do not understand people who want to watch other people in any kind of pain, physical or emotional. I cannot watch. I see enough of it on the news. Listen to enough of it on the
We'll
Archers.
happily listen to it 4 times a week on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, but there's some truth to it. 'Cause I think this is part of why I'm finding the Alice plotline so difficult, is because you're having to relentlessly listen to someone in pain, multiple people in pain. And I can only deal with a certain amount
We're
of
not
that.
quite human centipede level yet, though, are we?
I don't know.
I haven't seen that either, to be honest.
Well, Alice is up. Alice is in front position because she's, everyone else is dealing with her the fallout, and she's, and obviously she needs a mouth free to get all the drinking done. Poor Susan's in the middle and Chris is at the end. I don't know.
Where's Brian?
Brian
is he filming it? Probably.
He's probably buying insecticide. He's heard about the centipede and he hasn't quite understood what's involved. I don't know. This analogy is, one, shouldn't even be happening, and two, is falling apart.
Adam's there going, "Why didn't you tell me you were making a human centipede, Brian?
Why aren't I in a centipede?
You could have given me a heads up, Brian."
They are getting a heads up.
Hey.
That means Adam wants in, doesn't it?
Exactly. That was my gag.
Oh, sorry, Keri.
It's all right, love. Don't worry. I'm sort of too highbrow, I think, sometimes.
So I was sorry, I'm completely confused now. I was moaning, then something, human centipede. Adam is boring. Where are we?
Helen's great. Lee's great. We've completely changed our mind about them and the collapse of the Slovakian tourist industry due to Saw.
Kirsty is Sean Deitch, and she's going to work in the dairy.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to pay me.
And that was a bit weird because she was like, "Oh yeah, I have got another job at Grey Gables, but anyway, I'll do your one instead."
Yeah, what was it she said? It wasn't. What was the expression that you mentioned it? You referenced it there, Keri, when she said it gets really busy in here. She kind of basically said it was like
when it's
working in Wall Street or. Yes.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Buy, sell. I'll be focusing on the yogurt. She'll be doing the ice cream. I'll be doing the cheese.
Yeah.
If anyone gets in your way, just walk all over them.
How much do they make, and who the is buying it?
It's only the pub that buys the cheese, isn't it?
I mean, I'm sorry to be contrary, but it's never worried or upset me, the kind of like the weird money fairy or the weird economics of the village. I accept it. I mean, imagine if it was true to life, like some of the villages that I've lived in or near in the West Country, where it's kind of like, just a bunch of people. Some have heroin addictions, some don't. A lot of the people have had to move out the village because they've been priced out by people who've got second homes in London. It only fills up on the weekend with a bunch of hedge fund managers. Like it just would be. In order for it to be entertaining, they have to have these ridiculous jobs, or have everyone working for one big company, like George Osborne's, like a town that I know and Matthew knows, Frome. George Osborne. When you drive in there, George Osborne's family factory is, you see it as you go over the bridge.
Well, isn't that the chicken factory where they make chickens?
Well, but then everyone would have to work there. Helen would have to be at the chicken factory. They'd all have to be different jobs at the chicken factory. To be true to life, they would all work at Tesco's or at Esso, and then a whole bunch of them would work at one company. Sorry to be.
Yeah, I know, but it's like the veg box scheme. Jesus, that was with the app. Oh my god, that was so beyond all realms of possibility.
Is it though? I think I don't know if it is beyond realms of possibility. Really?
Yeah. It is.
Okay.
Well, how about a little disclaimer at the beginning where they say, "Look, in order to fulfil our remit of educating, farmers around the country, we're going to have to stretch the credibility of you, the listener, to its most elastic and potential breaking point. So, thank you for bearing with us. And now the bullshit begins."
Yeah, fair enough. We should just have that playing in our minds as when the theme tune starts, shouldn't we?
I mean, I'm with you, Peter. When people go on about the Ambridge Ferry, it does annoy me a bit because, like you said, it is a soap opera. Crazy things and unbelievable things are going to happen. So, suspension of disbelief.
Shoeless had multiple sexual partners.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, apparently that's not the thing that everyone's going to be astonished
Case closed.
Yeah. I mean, we're in the middle of a miserable plot line right now. And there's still some things to pick out of it and some moments of joy and some laughter in it. If these people who wanted to crush the Ambridge Ferry had their way, it would just be like EastEnders on heroin.
Yeah, it would be like it used to be in 1954 or something.
Yeah, I mean, go back and listen to some old episodes of The Archers and then see how nostalgic you are, really.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, I think that's a point I was trying to hint at earlier on, that it's a really good time for the Archers, and that if it does sound like and maybe you two as well, or you two moan less than I do, if we do moan a bit, it's coming from an affectionate place because it has been very, very good this last couple of years.
Yeah. Agree. I liked your militant stance there, though, Matthew. If you think this is bad, go and listen.
Honestly, go on YouTube. Go on YouTube and pull up a 1956 episode of The Archers and see if I mean, listen.
Yeah.
We know that there is some tendency for people to believe that things were better before, and the grass is always greener, and maybe that extends to The Archers.
When there was Ricketts.
The Thursday bombshell is Phil Archer sort of deciding he is going to buy that Massey Ferguson.
Yes.
We're feeling positive. Alice is definitely not feeling positive. Helen's not so terrible. Peggy's a bit woolly. Neil and Jim are amazing. Do we need to? I don't feel like we gave Neil quite enough love. Do we want to finish with just a little sort of spasm of? Well, that's not the right word. a last little nod of affection towards the great man.
Oh, it sounded like that. I'm doing one of the
Keri.
Neil.
No, you're supposed to say it out loud, Keri, not just feel it. You're supposed to.
I'll just say once again I just thought his handling of Brian was excellent. Like you said, he does realise that there is, there might be status there, but Neil has some. What's the expression you used, Peter? Did you say he had money in the bank in relation to human understanding? Brian's floundering with this whole situation, and Neil's not fully in control of it, but he's got a grasp on at least what's happening, the reality of it. And I feel like at some point Brian is kind of clinging to Neil in this situation and watching his move.
You just hit the nail on the head for me, because you just reminded me of, imagine Brian getting that cross with one of his children. They would immediately fight back and immediately be indignant. But Emma, one of the most combative, fiery and determined people you could listen to, her hearing Neil get that emotional and get that cross, she just was knocked straight onto her heels.
It took two goes at it.
It did. Yeah.
She wound herself up a second time, and then he had to double down. And because he said to her something along the lines of, "Well, I don't think Brian's grasped any of what's going on."
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
And then she started to get fiery again about Kate, didn't she? Kate's spoiled. They're all spoiled in that family. And then there was that moment where he really laid it down for her.
She apologized. Yeah. She said, "Sorry, Dad. Sorry, I love you, and I will try to be constructive, but it's going to be hard." And I really fucking hate Alice. Went up again, didn't she? But he just basically said to her, "We've got to be constructive."
Yes,
that's it.
He said to her, before you go off again, think about, is it going to be helpful?
Yeah, exactly.
Which I thought was brilliant. But when he, like I said at the off, Like when he got upset, that was I've heard people get that upset before, and particularly when they're in advanced age, it's not a nice thing to hear.
I think this week I'm going to be, what would Neil do, is going to be my kind of motto for this week, because I think if to try and be like Neil Carter would be a definite sort of step forward for most people. And as Emma said so movingly, if Chris is half the dad you are, then Martha will be fine.
I don't ever want to hear Neil saying his heart's being broken again, because that was too much, I think, on Monday.
Sorry, Keri.
It's okay. When you said you were going to be more Neil and what would Neil do, I wondered if there are any pigs roaming around Catford. But
I'd say I nearly made a Matthew joke there. Yeah. And, how dare you talk about the fine women of Catford like that? They're all very.
All men.
I wouldn't make a joke like that.
No, I thought you would say. And I imagined in my head. I imagined you doing one of your wicked chuckles and then very guiltily saying that.
No,
joke.
I was still feeling bad about cutting across Keri because I was still emotional about Neil.
Oh
yeah, we both cut across Keri about sort of
thousands of times.
Now it's going to get very meta. Now, do I edit out? Which bit do I edit out? This bit or the bits where we talked over Keri?
Leave it all in, love.
Leave it all in. Okay, yeah, save myself a few minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. So yeah, I'll be living like a kind of a sort of shrunken, wizened version of Neil for the next week, emotionally, that is. And Keri will be on the lash.
Yep.
Matthew, what will you be doing?
Teaching, trying to relax on the weekends.
Which character in the Archers are you, Matthew?
Oh no, sorry.
Jesus.
Is that the question? You'll have to edit that out.
No. So yeah, so Keri's Alice. I'm Neil.
I didn't get that bit. Sorry.
I think I did it by accident. I think Keri had a sort of an emotional intelligence that was just a straight intelligence that I lacked, and you as well.
You can be Peggy if you like. Don't worry.
I wandered off for a minute.
Well, if Matthew, if you don't choose, I feel like Keri's about to.
I've said Peggy.
Yeah. Well, I was. Yeah.
Can I be Jim?
No.
Exactly.
No, because it's incredibly arrogant. Because you've already said that Jim's the absolute greatest human being in this whole world. Are you aspiring to be Jim, or are you just going to be Jim?
Okay, this bit has gone on so long I've forgotten who you are. So Keri's Alice.
No, don't mention it, because I'm being a hypocrite because I said Neil. But
you
anyway.
said Neil, who you've also said was one of the greatest people.
Yeah, but I am arrogant. That's part of my brand. So yeah.
I'll be Jazzer in his hazmat suit.
There you go. All
Fabulous.
Right, perfect.
Good.
Okay. So we are on all the social medias. You can get us on email at hello@thecidershed.com. Twitter is
at the Cider Shed Pod.
Facebook is
the Cider Shed Podcast.
Yeah, and this week's gone very, very fast. Please tell us whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's been a lot of fun.
I would like to ask our lovely listeners to review us.
Oh yes, yes, we should
wherever
do more of that.
you can do that, wherever you listen to us, please.
Yeah,
just some stars, a little comment, that would be fabulous.
Yeah, and I think we what we will try and do is we're still keeping ourselves ad low, but we will try and come back with some more kind of concrete things that you can do to help if you're minded to. Over the next few weeks, we should make more of an effort to do that. So well remembered, Keri.
Only leave 5-star ones. We're not interested in the 3-star ones. Thank you.
Yeah, who's the motherfucker who left the 3-star review on Apple? We're coming for you.
Yeah.
We have theories. Yeah, and with that conspiracy theory ringing in the ears, we'll say thank you very much and see you next week.
See you next week.
See you. Bye.